A very warm welcome to all of the participants with our online interviewing and new series of webinars that we're going to start today. And this will be the series of webinars for our partners, colleagues and friends from all around the world. And our first participant will be the Ambassador, His Excellency, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Indonesia to the Russian Federation, His Excellency Mohamad Wahid Supriyadi, and he is today with us.
It's good afternoon, sister.
It is my pleasure to welcome you, dear Mr. Ambassador. And also the second participant of our today webinar is Mr. Rainer Tobing. Mr. Rainer Tobing is the Deputy Chairman for Industry from Jakarta Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And he has a very good experience of importing the helicopters to Indonesia from Tatarstan Republic. And he represents the entrepreneurs, both from private-owned enterprises and public-owned enterprises. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you, Mr. Rainer Tobing. Are you with us?
Yes.
All right, very good. So today the whole world is facing the problem of COVID-19, and the world economy is suffering a lot from that. So my first question to Your Excellency is, what is the situation with COVID-19 now in Indonesia? How do you feel about it? What is your mood about it? So how are you feeling today, please?
Well, thank you, Sister Taliya. It's my great pleasure to meet you again, although virtually. But actually, we've been 3 months working at home. And despite some difficulties, we are more productive in terms of making report to Jakarta, actually. So we keep monitoring what happened in Russia. We keep monitoring what happened in Indonesia. And we have also problem with our citizen here, and Russian have problem with citizen in Indonesia. So we keep working very hard, and it make us even more active, because we work not only from 9 to 5 as usual, but sometimes we work even a bit late.
All right. So what measures does the Indonesian government now make to control the spread of COVID-19?
Well, at least we have 5 points here to give you an idea of what we have done so far. First, we suspend our flights from China from February, and then we also waive the visa-free visa on arrival from some countries affected by the virus. That's, I think, start from the early of March. The government also established emergency response terms in entry zone in major airports and cross borders and other borders as well, and borders. And we also, the government produced or issued the presidential decree on the acceleration of the country's coronavirus 2019. And then some measures and economic, social and commercial sector to help the people ease or cope with the crisis. I think we can talk that in detail later on. But this is basically what the government have done it. It's not easy. It's still ongoing. I think every country suffer a lot from this crisis. I think it's time for us to work together.
Oh yes, there is no any country in this world for whom it's going to be easy, and it is easy at the moment. That's for sure. And my next question goes to the economic point, because I represent the investment agency and the economic part of Tatarstan government in Russia. So I'm really very interested in how does the country government support businesses in this challenging period, because they suffer a lot.
Yes, we understand that. I think most government have done it to help ease the burden of the industry, the business. So far, we issued 3 phases of stimulus, and the third one, the biggest one, amounted to almost $50 billion US. This is close to 2.5% of our GDP. Like, for example, we strengthen the healthcare system, social safety net program, incentive to micro, small, medium enterprises, tax incentive, support for the regional administrations, stimulus to state-owned enterprises, and other related programs. So all total about, to be correct, $47.6 billion US. Also some relaxation of taxation, and that may not be enough, but that's what the government have done so far, and we hope it will ease the burden of the business sectors.
Yeah, but these are very impressive figures. And it's really good that the government can afford itself to help the businesses in this situation. But sometimes it happens that the government feels that we do have a lot of support, but the entrepreneurs on their side, they can't get it, or they face lots of problems getting that support. So my next question is to the business side. So Mr. Rainer Tobin, would you please share your opinion on it? What will business representatives say to us? Do you feel any support from Indonesia government? How do you find this support? Is it useful?
Yes. Hello, Ms.Taliya. How are you? Nice to know you. Selamat malam, Pak Wahid.
Ya, selamat malam, Pak Roni.
Yeah. Like His Excellency Mr. Wahid already informed about the from our side, in the business side, we got some relaxation from the government, like structure for especially for the loan. For the loan, we can postpone for the loan the installment for the 1 year, at least 1 year, and then we got the tax reduced. Our government is very support for this situation. They understand about how this business now is slowed down, especially in Jakarta. We already closed office about around 60 days. Yeah, but now we try to survive.
Okay, so you just mentioned the postponing. So I would like to ask you in particular, is that the postponing or is it the cancellation? Because these are the two different strategies of government. Well, once you can get the postponing of something, still you have to pay afterwards. Once it's the cancellation, the problem has been solved. So is it the postponing still of the payments?
Sorry. Can you repeat? Sorry.
Yes, you just mentioned the postponing of payments.
Installment.
Is that the postponing or is it a cancellation?
This is postponed for the installment, not the cancellation.
Right. Because in Russia, we do have lots of debates on whether it should be the postponing payments in terms of tax, in terms of renting and many other issues, or should it be the cancellation? Because the postponing just means that you're going to pay afterwards, right? So this is going to be a problem not today, but the problem for tomorrow, so to say. And we've got lots of debates on how it's going to work, if it's going to be not the cancellation, but the postponing. So what I can hear from you now is that in Indonesia and Russia, we are doing similar things in this case. So my next question is to Mr. Ambassador back, and it's about the labor force. We know that today it's a big problem for labor market because lots of people, they were fired, right? And we now need to understand what specialists are most in demand now in Indonesia, and are there any new professions coming out of the situation that we have?
Well, yes, thank you. This is not the end of the world. Yeah, we experienced 5 times because financial crisis since 18 centuries actually, when we are able to overcome. It's true that some lost their jobs, some economies plummeted, but some others also increasing. In terms of specialist or profession, I can take note. At least there are three. Yeah? One is health sectors, which include equipment, medical equipments, and also the human power. And second, those working in digital economy. I can notify here some professionals like digital marketing expert, data analyst, programmer, software developer, software quality assurance, system engineer, application and game developer, online, ordinary enterprise, and so on. So I think this is an opportunity. There is always a light in the end of the tunnel. Like the Indonesian Central Bank, for example, the e-commerce trading rose more than 18% during the pandemic event. So this is quite encouraging actually. In commerce, e-commerce market standing to about 21 billion in gross market values in 2019. This is the biggest in Southeast Asia. And again, also McKinsey predicted that Indonesia's e-commerce industry by 2022 could reach to $40 billion US. This fourfold increase from the previous one. And also one interesting, I just wrote this morning an article in Indonesian papers that actually the delivery and cargo industry increased some by 50%. So despite the fact that some other also suffering, like many others in different countries, but it turns out that it creates also. So always, crisis always create also opportunities. But this is, I think, the crisis that we have to face. It's time for us to work together. I think this is a good time for us here in the embassy also to talk to you. Unfortunately, I could not go to Tatarstan. It's very fortunate. This is my end of working here. I mean, my channel will end this month. I should have gone to Tatarstan, but unfortunately, we cannot do that. Actually, there's been some initiative from Indonesian business people to come before this actually, but unfortunately, we have to postpone, and but hopefully the coronavirus will end and we can work together in business.
Oh, I love how you talk about it in the context of opportunities, because you mentioned several times it's like an opportunity, and this is really very good mood and a very good attitude towards what's going on today. So, Mr. Tobin, would you please share with us your opinion on it? Like, do you have you reduced your staff? Are there new employees coming in the companies? What would you say about it from the business point of view?
Yes, thank you. For that moment, a lot of company they reduce the employee, but for my company it's not. I'm still working with our existing employee. Yeah, they especially in industry for the textile, for the some from the food, also beverage. They reduce the employee. Also, they have we call this they put in the home, and then they still give the salary, but half salary, for example, like that. This is at the moment how we solve the problem with the human resources with the employee. But we pay the insurance for the health insurance, everything we pay, but they still we call their work from home, and but they still work in the house, but not much. They decrease the employee, not many.
Oh, it's good, but it's not many. But there are some sectors that suffered a lot. These are probably the tourism and some of the industries as well. Of course, trading, Horeca, many others in Russia as well. But if we talk about healthcare sector, for enterprises in Russia, the ones who produce the raw materials for face masks. 2 out of 4 Russian enterprises are located in Tatarstan. So Tatarstan enjoyed even the increase of volume of production and in new lines of production, and not only of face masks, but also on sanitizers and many things that are today in a high demand within our market, within our local market, as well as the global market. So my next question is to His Excellency Ambassador. Mr. Supriyadi, would you please tell us what sectors of the economy are developing within the situation of COVID-19 in Indonesia? What do you think?
Yeah, well, thank you. Actually, manufacturing is still growing. Even during the first quarter, at least there are 5 type of industry that support or contribute the biggest share of our economy. For example, number 1 is food industry. In food industry, in terms of the percentage increased by almost 20% to $7.17 billion. And then followed by basic metal industry, which is, although the growth is -8, but still contribute to the economy around $5.5 billion. And then chemical industry, it grew -1.75, but still contribute close to 3 billion. And then apparel industry, which is an increase of 1.8 billion. And then rubber industry and rubber plastic also contribute to $1.8 billion. And the other positive development is our export of steel and precious metals. Even our export to Russia grew by 267% in last year, but also this year, first quarter, I think, growing also. And then automotive industry also growing. Until April this year, we exported almost 90,000 units of cars and 215,000 of motorcycles. And if you look at prediction of the IMF, for example, it was predicted before that there are 3 countries in the world that may grow positive in 2020, apart from China, India, one Indonesia. But latest figure, IMF predicted that China even grew -1 and Indonesia plus 0.5. So it's still growing. And it's still an interesting market. If you look at report by CEO World, for example, Indonesia still the 4th best for investment 2020 after Singapore, UK, and Poland. So it's not that bleak ages that we are facing, but there is some positive development that we feel very optimistic in Indonesia.
Oh, that's very good to know, and it also gives me a great hope. I mean, the trading turnover is growing between Indonesia and Russia, so it gives me a hope for the increasement of investment coming from both like mutual investment from Indonesia as well as Russia. But in the beginning of our conversation, you just mentioned the Russian tourists. So how many Russian tourists still are staying in Indonesia during the closed borders? And how would you comment on it, please?
Yeah, last year, Russian tourists visited Indonesia around 160,000. That was actually an increase of almost 100% compared to the figure of 2016. But on the contrary, also Indonesian visiting Russia increased by 600% from only around 5,000 to 30,000. And Kazan is one of main destination of Indonesian, especially in the Kulsarif malls and the biggest Quran in Bulgar. It's very interesting. I wrote an article about that actually, and it attracts so many people in Indonesia. Of course, there are some problems with this pandemic. I was told that now there are around 2,000 left in Bali, mostly in Bali, and there's been some repatriation on both sides. And the last one, I think a few weeks ago, there was a flight from Bali, but I think there'll be another flight from Bali to Moscow and St. Peters and Sochi around 10 or 11 this month. But on the contrary, also there are around 20 or 40 altogether Indonesian who just been back from Russia to Indonesia for different reasons. So the government now is planning to open new destinations which in accordance with the health protocol, including Bali, because Bali is one of the best area in Indonesia that is, I mean, in terms of the victims infected less and less, and it's growing very positive development in Bali. And we consider also to open like Banyuwangi, Batam, Belitung, and Pronia, but still in process. But from our point of view, Russian tourists is a very good one, because for us it's good because they're one of the biggest spender, and length of stay, is one of the longest ones. So for us good. But also on the contrary, Russia seems very much interesting place to be visited by Indonesian tourists. Hopefully, international flight will resume. We don't know. According to the news this morning, could start from 15 earliest in July or hopefully in August. So hopefully, we can manage with that situation.
Oh yeah, hopefully we will somehow cope with all the problems that we have today. And this year, as we all know, Russia and Indonesia celebrate the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Russian Federation and the Republic of Indonesia. So I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate you in person and the members of your team that we work together closely with during the whole year, and especially within the Kazan summit days, and also to congratulate the population of Indonesia with that holiday. So, Your Excellency, what can you say about the dynamic of cooperation between our countries, not only in terms of trading and tourism, but maybe in some other sectors and spheres as well? How would you comment on it?
Well, first, hopefully in this year, our president will sign strategic partnership documents. This is the highest kind of cooperation between countries. And with that partnership, there will be more opportunities to reinforce shared commitments and broaden the level of cooperation. Even by now, last year, for example, we noted at least we had 15 official delegates visiting Russia, from member of parliament, from ministers, from other high-rank officials. This is apart from business to business and people to people. So it's very encouraging sign that we suddenly uncovered that there is potentials in Russia, and Russian also start unfolding the potentials of Indonesia. Because if you look at the movement of this official visit, I mean, is amazing during the last 2 to 3 years. And at least now we have 8 established various platforms of dialogues and mechanism on politics, economy, finance, defense, and security, cyber security, and so on. So this is also another example how close we are. And the embassy have set up, unfortunately with this pandemic, we cannot go on with some of our programs, but we have organized some events like photo exhibition. And interestingly, we had the Indonesian Day in Kazan. And this is the, I think this is the only event that we organized this year outside of Moscow. So we are fortunate that we have good communication with university in Kazan and also the Institute of Culture. I can't remember the name, but we had that one in Kazan. And also we have here seminars not only on business and trade, but also on political issues on how to encourage more better understanding, better relation between the 2 countries, because basically we need each other. And we, for example, we import growing import of wheat, of grain from Russia, big number of, because we are the second biggest eater of noodle in the world after China, and we do not grow wheat, so we can import from. But on the contrary, Russia also import palm oil. Palm oil still the biggest export of Indonesia. And some companies in Kazan, in Tatarstan have already managed to have partners in Indonesia, like Kamas, for example, and the helicopter and so on. So this is a good sign of getting much closer between the 2 countries. So we will see whether what happened with this pandemic well within. But in our mind, we still have some program, some project that we are planning to go ahead by the end of this year.
Oh, that's very good news. So let's go to Mr. Tobing and ask him, what was the reason and motivation for Indonesian business representatives to work with Russia? So would you please comment on it? Because it's really interesting from the business point of view. How do they see the situation?
Yes. Yeah, okay. You mean what the reason and motivation with the business with the Russian?
Yes, I mean, what do they see the opportunities to work with Russia? Do they see it's like great potential in between?
Okay. Yeah, I tried to do business with Russian companies since 2017. Yeah, 2017. Before I tried to do business with the Western Europe, France, England, something the country, Italian. But I got I don't know why I got the good communication with the Russian businessmen. Yeah, very good, very familiar, very friendly, and then we can understand each other. That's why in 2018 I tried to export beer to Vladivostok. This is the first time I did business with the Russian. Mr. Wahid already went to Vladivostok to see, and then until now is growing the business. And then I have a partner from Tatarstan, actually from Tatarstan, from Kazan. And that's why I'm trying to offering the helicopter, we unsat helicopter for VIP. Also for the medical evacuation, something like that. Now, this is why I'm interesting business with the Russian people, Russian businessmen.
Oh, very good. So what new challenges appeared during the COVID period? What do you think about? Are there any new challenges that you face with?
Yeah, for our side, for my side, I will continue the progress for the helicopter, because actually my partner will come to Indonesia this April, to make a presentation, But unfortunately, we got the pandemic, and then we cancel. We postpone maybe in October. This is a challenge because
Why won't you use the online opportunity of presentations so that you see there is also now a good movement towards the IT sector, right? So everyone is now online doing things. So why won't you use this opportunity to make the presentation instead of waiting for the October?
yeah, this is the problem. Maybe Mr. Wahid understand how the Indonesian bureaucrat and how the Indonesian business society for the moment with the Zoom meeting, online meeting. This is actually this is not our culture. The bureaucrat, they want we come to see them and then yeah, say hello something and then to make a good friendly. If we arrange, I already try to arrange Zoom meeting, but they don't want better to make a presentation and then we'll discuss more than we need. They need to discussion. This is maybe later on new normal, and then we can meeting like this, like today we meeting.
Well, bureaucrats are everywhere in this world, but what I can tell you from my side is that number one out of all the ambassadors that we have in Russia with whom we started the webinars, your ambassador in the Republic of Indonesia was number one and the most active to respond to our request. That's why the first webinar is organized with the Republic of Indonesia. So maybe not all Indonesians are so bureaucratic. I wish you all the best with the October presentation. And my next question is to His Excellency Supriyadi. I want to ask him Your Excellency, do you see any positive impact of the global pandemic in general? Do you think we're gonna enjoy some global solidarity, some unity? So do you think we're gonna be united in a way?
Yeah, well, I forgot one thing. Actually, last year in October, we signed a memorandum of cooperation between EEC and Indonesia. This is one step to have FTA between Indonesia and Euro-Asian Economic Union. If we learn from the experience of Vietnam, for example, once we sign the FTA, we can expect the growing bilateral trade to about 30%. So this is another encouragement sign. And actually, I just heard that in a few months or maybe next month, a team from Trade Ministry in Russia and Indonesian Trade Ministry are going to have, like video conference like this. So not all bureaucrats are against the the webinar, but some I think they have to because this is the only way we can do during the crisis. Yes, as for your question, I think this is time for cooperation. So in the beginning, we are a bit worried, because some countries seems to be more protective. They ban export on certain medical equipment and so on. But now there is a growing awareness from different countries that now it is time for us to work together. This is a global pandemic. For Indonesia, for example, we start moving from our regions. With ASEAN, for example, we have the ASEAN Summit on 14 April, discussed on how to overcome this crisis through our regional cooperation, and then we involve 3 other countries, like we call it ASEAN Plus 3, that include China, Japan, and South Korea. And also on multilateral level at the United Nations, we are 5 of other UN members like Ghana, Liechtenstein, Norway, Singapore, and Switzerland, which has successfully passed the global solidarity to fight COVID-19 resolution at the UN General Assembly on the 2nd of April 2020. This resolution also co-sponsored by another 188 nations, and the resolution was finally adopted unanimously through virtual meeting, of course. And also recently we had a discussion between our Ministry of Health and the Health Ministry in Russia. So we are working together. Initially, you know, our president called President Putin when actually Russia at the time was still the number of them still very few, yeah. But then it turned out that we suffer the same thing, and then it starts growing, like in Indonesia, still growing now, and Russia also growing. And there's been exchange of information between, you know, Ministry of Health and your ministry on how to work together to fight this pandemic.
Okay, I see, but you know, we have lots of questions coming to us from people who are online with us today. And one of the questions that we have is about the export from Russia to Indonesia, and they ask us if there are any governmental bodies who can help to import to Indonesia. Are there some? So who will be the single window to call to? Whom can they apply to? Would you please answer the question?
Sorry, I can understand your question. So
the question is, if somebody like from business people would love to export something from Russia to Indonesia, what should they do? How should they act? What will be the maybe government body? Whom should they apply to? Like whom would they talk to?
Well, first they can contact our embassy. We have trade attaché. You know, he's from the trade minister, so he's very knowledgeable on this. This is very technical, but just give us a note. You can send through email, WhatsApp, or whatever. We have also regular meeting actually. In the coming weeks, we will have also another webinar like this with the Moscow export-import, business community, and this also involve our business partner in Indonesia. So just give us a note, and we would also like to know what kind of export and whether there are some agreements between countries on certain areas of business and so on. So please let us know, and we will answer.
Okay, so they should apply to the embassy, to the special trade department, and then they can get the answers, as far as I understood. So the next question that also came through online system is when Indonesia is ready to accept tourism. Probably some of the Russians, they missed very much the holidays in Indonesia. So do you think when will the borders between the countries going to be open?
We are still working on that, but the problem now is there is a ban on international flights on many countries, including from Russia. I read this morning papers that Moscow airport will be open on the 15th of July to some European destination, but to Southeast Asia only will start in the 1st of August. That's why I cannot go home until 1st of August because of this ban. And from Indonesian side, we are also, if we look at this, information that I got from the internet, we may open our airport on the 10th of July, but we will see what happens after that. But the sooner the better, actually. We had a video conference with our tourism ministry last week, and then we are going to have one this week. And I mentioned some destination that could be open sooner. And one is, of course, Bali, because 90% of the Russians go to Bali. Actually, we have some inquiries of those Russians who some of their family live semi-permanently in Bali, and they are stranded here. So they would like to visit their families, and we consider this. But of course, now there is no regular flight, but we work together with Aeroflot or Russia Air, and occasionally they go to Bali to repatriate the Russian citizens. So, well, hopefully we will open very soon.
Okay, so the last question comes from the student, and as an international, like as a student of international relations, how can I get a job at the embassy? So do you like do you hire people for international relations within the embassy? What is the procedure?
You could send the application, but at the moment, unfortunately, we don't have any vacancy. But we know have around I think 12 Russians who work in our embassy. But most of them also speak Bahasa Indonesian very well. But occasionally we have a vacancy, so just keep in touch with us.
Okay, so I would like to thank you very much for the constant support of the relations between not only Indonesia with the Russian Federation, but in particular Indonesia with Tatarstan Republic, because I represent Tatarstan local government, and it's a great pleasure for me to welcome you on an annual basis during our Russia and Islamic World conference, but this year we happened to cancel it and to do some webinars instead, to work with analytical information, and to be very well prepared for the next year. So
now, but before closing, can I ask some question to you?
Of course, it will be my pleasure.
Yeah, because I have also some questions from Indonesian business people now who start interesting to do business, and some interested also to even invest in Russia. I know Tatarstan is one of the most advanced, states, and actually Kazan is the most livable city, in Russia. And now we have the third biggest number of students in Kazan, around 80 or 85 students. What sort of facilities or incentive that you could provide for future investors from, say, for example, from Indonesia, and what is the difference from other states? I think this kind of question, sometimes addressed to me. So that's why we have Mr. Tobing here, who just uncovered Russia only 3 years ago, but now he's very keen to do business in Russia, and especially with Tatarstan, he has already partnered.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, because it goes directly to what we are doing here in the investment agency, supporting the investors from all around the world. So the first important thing is that the legislation across the whole country is the same. So we are all under the Russian Federation legislation in terms of investors relations and in other issues as well. So what we are doing in Tatarstan, we try to work more efficiently in terms of quality and time with the investors. And if you compare Tatarstan with other Russian regions, what will be different? Tatarstan has, first of all, the best investment infrastructure in the country, because it's the only one region that enjoys today 100 of industrial parks. And 100 of industrial parks means that we have the best investment infrastructure with the engineering nets, with ready-made premises for renting, with the all the, so to say, infrastructural suites that you can look for. And next important thing is the educational basis. You just mentioned the Indonesian students that study over here. So we've got students from almost from all around the world here, not only in Innopolis, that is an IT university, but within other different economic sectors. So we've got the Aviation Institute, the Agricultural Institute, Medical University, the Petrochemical Supporting University, like the technical universities, and like the Tourism and Sports Academy. So each sector of the economy is supported with the educational basis. So in terms of HR, Tatarstan would be number one as well. And the third important thing is that almost 50% of our industries within the economy is 50% is industry. So we are an industrial region, so to say. So we've got lots of raw materials in petrochemicals, in machinery building, and agriculture. So it's a good base for refining, a very good base for refining. And my agency, Tatarstan Investment Development Agency, works as a single window principle, so they can apply to the agency, say whatever they want to do in Tatarstan, whether it's going to be the entering of the Russian market with some products, or would it be like the localization process. It might be also some, not only products, but services also possible. So it's all individual basis approach. So once they want to start any business issues within the Russian Federation, Tatarstan will open a gate as an international entering point to the Russian market. That's what we are trying to do. And of course, we have all other incentives like tax preferences, like many other issues to support, and even some subsidies for some sectors that we might find really very potentially attractive within the Russian market territory.
Well,
so we've got the investment portal that is called invest.tatarstan.ru in 11 languages, and probably it would be easy to go to that portal, investment portal website, and find out what do we have over here. But it will be our pleasure if any of Indonesian business will contact us directly.
Well, thank you very much. So my best regard to my good friend, President Minikanov. Unfortunately, I could not go to Kazan to say goodbye, but I sent letter to him. So again, I thank you very much also for your kind facilitation during my stay in Russia, especially in Kazan. Actually, Kazan is outside St. Petersburg, the most visited places or regions. I may be visiting around 8 or 7 times in Kazan. So my great honor to be working with you. Hopefully, my successor also will keep continuing working with you as well. So thank you very much.
It will be my pleasure to send your best regards to my big boss, to the president of Tatarstan, Mr. Rustam Minikhanov, and I'm sure that he will be very pleased and glad to hear that from you personally, Mr. Ambassador. So I would love to thank you and Mr. Tobing for your time today with us, and I think that we will put the record of this small webinar to the internet, so that everyone who could not maybe listen to us during this time online, so that they would have a chance to do that later on. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the success. And we still hopefully be online with the embassy and with Indonesian businessmen. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye. Yeah, thank you, Ms.Taliya. Yeah. Bye-bye.